Hi, my name is Alex and I welcome you to today's video. In the 25th century, humanity reaches for the stars to find new habitable planets. As a member of the so-called Astroneers, you explore distant parts of space and open them up for future generations. There is a rough story that explains basic things, but it's not worth mentioning. That's not tragic though. The fascinating thing about Astroneer is its mechanics and the great freedom in the low-poly sandbox. After an extensive tutorial, you land on an alien planet and place a bungalow-like accommodation, which only serves as a storage point. After that, you maneuver your little astronaut across the planet in a freely rotatable and zoomable third-person view, and first inspect the launch package that can be requested via the landing platform. This includes an oxygen generator, which turns out to be the most important utensil for your planetary exploration tour. In order to produce items, you'll have to search for resources such as resin, compounds, or organic material. As you would expect from an alien planet, the atmosphere is not exactly inviting for humans. That's why building a well thought out oxygen network is not only fun, but elementary. Only if you are connected to an oxygen pipeline, like an umbilical cord at all times, can you explore the procedurally generated planets without any worries. The fact that the game sometimes doesn't make the resources necessary for the production of lines accessible in the starting area is therefore all the more annoying, especially since an overview map with marking options is missing. Thus you can easily lose your orientation in the open worlds when searching for important resources. Another important factor is the construction of a power grid. To supply your air conditioner and other equipment with power, you'll use a modular Lego principle. For example, you can build wind turbines and generators and connect them to research labs via cables. Or you can use 3D printers to build platforms that you can first connect to a power source like your shelter and then equip them with a wide variety of modules. Once you have secured the basic supply of energy, oxygen and the first important resources for the further development of your base, it is relatively quickly time for refinement, in the truest sense of the word. Because the rough goal on each planet is to build a shuttle and set off to the next planet. To do this, however, you first have to master a relatively complex production chain. Astroneer systems require a lot of overview from the player, which will definitely cause frustration for some. What should be fun for everyone is the terrain manipulation using your terrain tool. Not only can it suck up resources and dirt, but the latter can also be spit out again to form adventurous shapes out of it. We also had to get used to the fact that all activities are actually carried out via the controls contained in the game world, such as your Astroneer's backpack. You equip your multi-tool via drag and drop, just as you fill your printers with raw materials or platforms with modules and devices. With so many different resources and devices, this can be quite colorful, but never too confusing. The roaming through the cuddly low-poly world is just as colorful. When the wind whistles through trees, grasses and broken equipment left behind by your predecessors, the excellent soundtrack plays and you blithely suck in lovingly designed plants, minerals and stones, Astroneer effectively conveys the feeling of entering real new territory. After it was first said not to expect Astroneer for the Nintendo Switch, the sandbox game has now made it to the hybrid console after all. Although, as expected, with some technical drawbacks. The game runs at a constant 30 frames per second on the Switch, and larger drops were not noticeable. In terms of graphics, the usual changes have been made. Aside from a lower resolution, the render distance has been reduced, effects are less spectacular, and there are noticeably fewer objects in the environments. However, the latter is more of a feeling than something I can confirm. Nevertheless, Astroneer can also convince visually thanks to its low-poly style. So let's come to a conclusion. For a supposedly small project with a rather simple look, the interplanetary resource hunt wants quite a lot at once. Some small stumbling blocks can't be avoided, but what the game already manages to do, however, is to encourage me to keep going. The search for raw materials, the optimization of production chains, or the wild mix of modules with which I can design my base according to my wishes. All this motivates me enormously to explore the procedurally generated planets. Astroneer succeeds in putting together a varied game from relatively few components. You have to dig deep into the material at the beginning, but once the resource pile is rolling, it's hard to get away from it again. Nevertheless, it must be mentioned that the game is by no means for everyone. A lot of players will probably get lost in the first few hours. For these reasons, I rate Astroneer for the Nintendo Switch a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. If you liked it, we would be very happy about a like and a subscription, or if you're interested in getting early access to our future reviews, feel free to visit our Patreon page.
Closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.